first place we will look at in the Bible is Luke 16:19 through 26. While speaking to his disciples about stewardship, faith, and forgiveness, Jesus told an actual literal story of Lazarus and the rich man. He does not name the rich man, but he names the beggar Lazarus. Whenever Jesus spoke a parable, he never used personal names or specific geographical locations. The proper rule of interpretation is whenever names are used for persons or geographical locations, this text is to be taken as a narrative of an actual historical and literal event. Among evangelists, this text and quote by Jesus is taken as a literal historical narration of a real event. Understanding this, the descriptions of the geography must also be literal and true. Luke 16:19-26. There was a certain rich man, which was clothed in fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at the gate, full of sores, and desiring to be fed with crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that he died, and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died, and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torments, and saw Abraham far off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water, and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that you in your lifetime received your good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and you are tormented. And besides all this, between us and you, there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from here to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from here. Now let's look at the geographical details described in this text and disregard the spiritual implications for now. We have two areas or chambers separated by a gulf or a chasm, which is fixed. When we hear of Abraham's bosom, we usually think of the upper front body part area between the arms. Some say this is an allegorical reference for a fondness. The proper meaning here has been lost by a cultural expression common 2,000 years ago but foreign in today's world. Any Bible dictionary will reveal to you that bosom refers to the bosom of a garment. That is the hollow formed by the upper forepart of a tunic. This is a rather loose garment bound by a girdle or sash around the waist used for keeping and carrying things, the upper fold or the pocket. This literal event told by Jesus describes a two-part pocket that is eternal or subterranean. One area is negative and one positive, but separated between each other by a gulf. This was the Old Testament concept of hell or Sheol as being a place where all departed souls went into one or the other place. But notice from the text, even though departed spirits lived there, it was also a very physical place inside the earth. The Bible contains additional scripture to support this idea of a two-chambered hollow earth. Psalms 116:3 states, The sorrows of death compass me, and the pains of hell got a hold upon me. I found trouble and sorrow. The word pains in Hebrew is metzar, meaning something tight. It comes from the Hebrew word kabah, meaning a paunch, as in the cavity or the first stomach of a cud-chewing animal. They have more than one stomach. So you can see that in the etymology of the word for pain, we get an understanding of a two-chambered hollow earth. In addition, words such as sea, abyss, pit, and the deep interchangeably mean the same place within the earth. When the flood waters came, the fountains of the deep burst forth to the surface, as described in Genesis 6. Where did they burst? Subterranean. H.M. Howell, a Christian educator, wrote in his book Cosmic Problems Solved in 1895, he believed that a parallel existed between the ocean currents and the four rivers mentioned in Genesis 2:10 through 14, as flowing out of Eden. Eden, then, would be on the concave side of the globe, with the waters welling out through the hole at the South Pole, completing its course back into the earth at the opening in the North Pole. Current theories of the location of Eden do not match up with the modern geography, and even known changes from the ancient conditions give no conclusive results. Some have even tried to say Eden is in another dimensional plane on the same earth, and that is why we cannot find it. But a further search in the scriptures can provide a better logical answer. The death and resurrection of Jesus created the bridge back and the way for all who believe in him. Ephesians 4:9 says, Now this he ascended. What does it mean but that he also first descended into the lower parts of the earth? Two different results from two different areas were accomplished by Jesus in this inner realm. Matthew 27:52 and 53 said, "And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many." After this resurrection, the upper half of Sheol was left empty. Now, upon death of those born by the Spirit, they go directly to be with the Lord in the heavenly dimension, as mentioned in 2 Corinthians 5:18 or 5:8. In the lower chamber, Jesus declared something to the fallen angels and their offspring from the Genesis 6 event. 1 Peter 3:18 through 20 states, "And being put to death in the flesh," meaning Jesus, "but made alive by the Spirit, by whom he also went and preached to the spirits in prison, who formerly were disobedient, when once the divine long-suffering waited in the days of Noah while the ark was being prepared." Preached in contextual use does not mean that Jesus preached the gospel. The word, without a modifier, simply means to declare something. The contextual use of the spirits refers to disembodied angelic spirits, not human ones. A further description of this visitation by Jesus is mentioned by the prophet Isaiah as declaring a further judgment on the angels that sinned, mentioned in Genesis 6 and Isaiah 26. In the next part of the series, we will discuss this in more detail. For our sake here, it is important to see that Jesus went to both chambers right after his death and before his ascension into heaven. Understanding this by the Bible's own statements draws some rather interesting conclusions to the two chambers that are mentioned. The lower chamber is the realm called hell, and commonly understood as a place for all things damned, angelic or human. What is not understood is the full understanding of just what this empty upper realm is. If Abraham's bosom, as defined by Jesus' own word, is the inner realm that he went to upon his death on the cross, as the Bible clearly indicates, we need to take notice of what else Jesus called this realm. Jesus told the thief next to him on the cross that, "Today you shall be with me in paradise." Now keep in mind, after the cross, Jesus did not ascend into heaven first. He went down, then up. Jesus went into the bowels of the earth, to Abraham's bosom, where Lazarus went, which was paradise, along with the thief as promised. At this time all were released and ascended into the very presence of the Lord. The upper chamber is now empty of the faithful and sealed somehow from entrance. It is very important to understand this connection, because many further implications are made by this. The Bible will always define itself by itself. It is amazing, after these clear connections, that we have another verse that defines for us something more about paradise. Revelations 2:7 states, "To him that overcomes will I grant to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God." We know that the tree of life is in the Garden of Eden. There is only one tree of life. That would mean that Eden and paradise are one and the same, and so is Abraham's bosom. Where are they? Inside a hollow earth. It would also mean that H.M. Howe, over 100 years ago, had it biblically correct. The Garden of Eden, then, is not on the surface in some invisible never land or forgotten etherical place, but subterranean. Many cultural myths of man ascending from an inner earth are but a trace memory of what the Bible concurs, and it gets even stranger.